What if the one place meant to save your soul is the same place that feeds on your soul? This is the story of how Chika uncovered the terrifying truth behind a church that promised miracles, but delivered nightmares. Stick with us as we listen to this chilling and entertaining story together. Chika is a young journalist, known for investigating strange stories. One evening, she sat in her small apartment in Lagos, scrolling through news articles when she saw a shocking headline: Mysterious Church Deaths. Worshippers collapse during service. The story claimed that 15 people had died suddenly in a new church called Divine Light Ministry. Some said it was poison. Others believed it was a spiritual attack. But the police had no answers. Chika's curiosity sparked wanting to know what could be the cause because before now, she had exposed fake prophets before. Was this another scam or something darker? She decided to visit the church herself. That night, an old woman knocked on Chika's door. "My child, don't go to that church," she warned. "Something evil lives there." Chika smiled. "Mama, I will be fine. I just want to ask questions." The woman shook her head. "You won't come back the same." Chika laughed, but deep inside she felt a chill. She had heard superstitions before, but something about the old woman's voice made her uneasy. As the night deepened, strange dreams plagued Chika's sleep. She saw a shadowy figure standing in front of the church, whispering her name. She woke up in a cold sweat, her heart racing. Something within her was telling her to abandon the quest of investigating about the church, and another was encouraging her to uncover the secrets behind the church and liberate innocent souls. The next morning, Chika prepared her recording equipment. "Time to find the truth," she muttered and head to the church. The sun hung low as Chika arrived at the church. The building was very big, painted white, with a giant golden cross at the entrance. It looked peaceful, but the moment she stepped inside, she felt an eerie chill. The congregation was in deep prayer. The pastor, Prophet Elijah, stood at the pulpit. His voice was deep and commanding. "Welcome to the House of Miracles," he declared. Chika sat at the back, watching closely so she could see the whole activities going on in the church. The church members had blank expressions, as if in a trance. Every time the pastor spoke, their heads nodded in unison, their eyes empty. As she scanned the room, her attention fell on a woman seated a few rows ahead. The woman turned suddenly and whispered, "Leave while you still can." Chika's breath caught in her throat. She turned to ask the woman what she meant, but the woman was gone. The seat was empty. Her hands trembled as she reached for her camera. She had uncovered many secrets before, but something about this place felt differently dangerous. Then the pastor's eyes met hers. His gaze was cold, piercing. A shiver ran down her spine. It was as if he knew why she was here. A loud bang echoed through the church. The doors slammed shut on their own. Chika's pulse quickened and she thought for a moment, is she trapped? Or did someone close the door from outside? She kept her cool and waited to see what happens next. Her heart pounded and she decided to leave the church. She walked towards tried to open it, but they wouldn't budge. Murmurs filled the air, rising like waves. The people in the church continued praying, their voices low and eerie. Lights flickered. Shadows stretched unnaturally along the walls. A cold wind blew through the building, though the windows were shut. Chika took a deep breath. She had to remain calm. She pulled out her camera and hit record. If something strange happened, the world needed to see it. "You should not be here," a deep voice whispered. Chika turned, but no one was there. The sound had come from behind her, yet the pews were empty. Suddenly, a scream tore through the air. A woman in the front row clutched her throat, gasping for breath. She fell to the ground, convulsing. No one moved to help her. The pastor merely raised his hands and shouted, "The spirit is moving." Chika's hand shook. What kind of church was this? The lights flickered again. This time when they came back on, the woman was gone. Chika blinked. Where had she gone? No one seemed to care. A hand grabbed her shoulder. Chika spun around to see a young boy, his eyes wide with fear. "Run," he whispered, "before it's too late." Chika swallowed hard. "What's happening here?" she whispered back. "They are watching you now," the boy said. "They won't let you leave." The room suddenly felt smaller. Chika had to find a way out. But as she turned, Prophet Elijah's voice rang out. "Sister, why do you fear? Come forward and receive your blessing." The congregation turned to face her, their blank eyes glowing faintly. Chika was dragged toward the altar, her feet barely touching the ground. The congregation surrounded her, chanting in a language she didn't understand. The air was thick with incense and something more sinister, an oppressive energy pressing down on her chest. Prophet Elijah stepped forward, holding a golden chalice filled with a dark, thick liquid. "Drink, and you shall be reborn," he said, his voice deep and commanding. Chika struggled, but invisible hands held her in place. The congregation's eyes glowed faintly, their expressions vacant. The boy who had warned her earlier suddenly appeared at her side. "Don't drink it," he yelled, knocking the chalice from the prophet's hands. The liquid splattered onto the floor, sizzling upon impact. The congregation gasped. Prophet Elijah's face twisted in fury. "You dare interfere," he roared. The ground trembled beneath them. The walls of the church cracked, and the lights flickered wildly. Chika felt something cold wrap around her ankles, shadowy tendrils rising from the floor. "We have to run," the boy yelled, pulling Chika toward the side door. She hesitated, glancing back at Prophet Elijah. His form had begun to shift, his human features warping into something monstrous. The side door burst open, revealing a dark passageway leading underground. The boy pulled her forward. "This way." Behind them, Prophet Elijah let out a piercing scream. "You cannot escape the will of the church." Chika and the boy plunged into the darkness. The underground tunnel stretched endlessly, its damp walls carved with strange symbols. A musty odor filled the air, thick with decay. The sound of dripping water echoed around them as Chika and the boy hurried through the darkness. "Where does this lead?" Chika asked, glancing back. Shadows slithered along the tunnel walls, moving unnaturally. "It was an escape route for the first priests," the boy whispered. "But something else lives here now." A deep, guttural growl rumbled from behind them. Chika's breath hitched. Prophet Elijah's voice echoed through the tunnel, warped and monstrous. "You cannot leave. The church will have you." The boy tugged at her arm. "Run!" They sprinted through the narrow passage, their footsteps splashing in murky puddles. The tunnel twisted and turned, leading to a large wooden door bound in rusted chains. The boy hesitated. "This is the only way out." Chika pressed her hands to the door, but it wouldn't open. A cold wind howled through the tunnel. The shadows thickened, forming ghostly hands reaching toward them. With a desperate push, they forced the door open and stumbled into a massive chamber. Chika's eyes widened in horror. Lining the stone walls were rows of wooden coffins, each one shaking as if something inside was trying to escape. The boy let out a shaky breath. "This is where they keep them. The ones who never leave." A loud crack filled the air. One of the coffin lids began to slide open. The whispers grew deafening. Chika's blood ran cold. The chamber reeked of death and decay. Chika and the boy stepped cautiously into the massive underground space. The coffins that lined the walls shake and rattles as if something inside was desperate to escape. Chika tightened her grip on the boy's hand. "What is this place?" she whispered. "The cursed ones," the boy said. "They were once people just like us. But they were taken by the church." Before Chika could respond, one of the coffins burst open. A shriveled hand, its skin stretched thin over jagged bones, clawed at the air. A figure emerged, a ghastly rotting corpse dressed in a tattered church robe. Its hollow eyes locked onto Chika. "You should not have come," it rasped. More coffins cracked open. Figures, half dead, half alive, stumbled out, their jaws snapping hungrily. The whispering voices grew louder, swirling around the chamber like a cursed wind. "Run!" the boy screamed. Chika bolted for the opposite side of the chamber, weaving between crumbling skeletons and grotesque figures dragging themselves forward. The boy led her toward a stone archway. Prophet Elijah's voice boomed from the shadows. "You cannot escape the Lord's house." A shadowy figure loomed ahead, its red eyes glowing with unholy fire. It was Elijah, but he was no longer looking like a human. His flesh pulsed with unnatural energy, his fingers stretching into long skeletal claws. Chika skidded to a halt, her breath ragged. "We are trapped." The boy grabbed a rusted iron cross from the floor. "We can stop him, but we have to act fast." Elijah lunged forward, his mouth stretching into a gaping abyss of darkness. The undead closed in from all sides. Chika's back pressed against the damp stone wall, her breath coming in shallow gasps. The undead lurched closer, their skeletal fingers reaching for her. Prophet Elijah's form twisted in the darkness, his face a shifting mass of shadows and glowing red eyes. The boy clutched the rusted iron cross, his hands shaking. "We must destroy the altar," he whispered. "It's the source of his power." Chika's gaze darted across the room. In the center of the chamber stood a massive stone altar, covered in ancient symbols that pulsed with dark energy. Blood smeared the surface, and above it hung a massive, rusted chain connected to an ominous bell. Elijah's voice rumbled like thunder. "Don't touch that." The shadows in the chamber surged forward. Chika grabbed a broken wooden staff from the ground and swung wildly at the advancing figures. The undead recoiled momentarily, their hollow eyes flickering. "Go!" she screamed at the boy. The boy ran toward the altar, raising the iron cross above his head. The moment he touched the stone, the entire chamber trembled. The walls cracked, dust falling from the ceiling. The air grew thick with wailing voices. Elijah let out a deafening screech. His body twisted unnaturally, growing taller, his skeletal hands stretching into claws. "You will not defy the will of the church." Chika rushed to the altar, grabbing the boy's arm. "We have to end this now." She spotted a large hammer beside the altar. With every ounce of strength, she lifted it and brought it down onto the stone. A loud crack echoed through the chamber. The symbols on the altar flickered violently. Elijah's form convulsed, his body disintegrating into black smoke. The undead figures collapsed into dust. The ground trembled, and the bell above them began to swing wildly. The boy turned to Chika, his eyes wide. "We have to leave now." The chamber shook violently. The walls began to collapse. Chika grabbed the boy's hand and ran toward the only exit. Behind them, the dark altar shattered completely. A final, piercing scream echoed through the tunnel. Chika and the boy sprinted through the crumbling tunnel, their feet pounding against the cold stone floor. The air was thick with dust, making it hard to breathe. The walls groaned, splitting apart as chunks of stone fell around them. "Keep running!" Chika yelled, dodging a falling rock. The boy clutched her hand tightly, his small fingers trembling. Behind them, a guttural roar echoed through the passage. Chika risked a glance over her shoulder and felt a chill race down her spine. A shadowy figure was forming in the darkness, its glowing red eyes cutting through the dust. "Elijah isn't gone," the boy cried. Chika's heart pounded. She had seen him disintegrate. How was this possible? Ahead, a faint light glowed at the end of the tunnel. "We are almost there," she gasped, pulling the boy forward. But the ground beneath them trembled violently. A chasm cracked open, splitting the tunnel in two. Chika skidded to a stop, barely keeping herself from tumbling into the abyss. The boy teetered at the edge, his arms flailing. "Jump!" Chika screamed. The boy hesitated for a split second before launching himself across. Chika followed, barely clearing the gap. They hit the ground hard, rolling into the dim light ahead. The exit was just a few feet away. Chika lunged for it, pulling the boy through. They stumbled onto damp grass, the cool night air hitting them like a wave. Behind them, the tunnel collapsed entirely. The church was gone. Chika lay on the ground, gasping. The nightmare was finally over. Or so she thought. A whisper drifted through the night. "The church never dies." Chika and the boy stood outside the ruins of the church, their chests rising and falling with exhaustion. The dust still lingered in the air, the remnants of Prophet Elijah and his cursed congregation buried beneath the collapsed structure. "Is it over?" the boy whispered, gripping Chika's arm tightly. Chika pulled out her camera, her fingers trembling. She flipped the screen open and scrolled through the footage she had captured underground. At first, all she saw was static, but then a shadow moved. Her heart pounded as she adjusted the brightness. A blurry figure emerged from the wreckage. A tall, dark silhouette with glowing red eyes. "No!" Chika's voice barely escaped her lips. The screen flickered again, and for a moment, Prophet Elijah's face flashed across the camera, a twisted grin. His eyes filled with unnatural fire. Then the screen went black. The boy took a step back. "He's still here." Chika swallowed hard. "No, that's impossible. We destroyed the altar. We destroyed him." A cold wind swept through the air, carrying a whisper that sent a shiver down her spine. "The church never dies." The boy pointed to the rubble. "Look." Chika followed his gaze. The ground beneath the ruins of Divine Light Ministry began to crack. A low, unholy hum vibrated through the earth. "Run!" the boy screamed. They turned and sprinted down the deserted road, the shadows behind them stretching unnaturally. Chika's mind raced. Had they truly escaped? Or was something far worse about to begin? The night swallowed them as they ran, their feet pounding against the cracked pavement. The air was thick, heavy, as if unseen eyes were watching their every move. The whispering continued, low at first, then rising like a dreadful chant. Chika dared to glance back. What she saw made her stumble. From the ruins of the church, something was emerging. It wasn't Prophet Elijah, not exactly. A towering figure, draped in tattered black robes with burning red eyes, was pulling itself free from the rubble. Its limbs stretched unnaturally long, its mouth twisted into an inhuman snarl. It was something worse than Prophet Elijah. "Keep going," the boy yelled, yanking Chika's arm. Ahead, the streetlights flickered violently. The road seemed endless, stretching into darkness. Chika's breath came in short gasps. "Where do we go?" "The river," the boy shouted. "It can't cross water." They veered off the road, crashing through thick bushes toward the riverbank. Behind them, the creature let out a piercing, unnatural scream that rattled the air. Shadows stretched toward them like clawed hands, reaching, grabbing. The river came into view, a vast, rushing body of water reflecting the moonlight. Chika didn't hesitate. She waded in, dragging the boy with her. The creature stopped at the edge of the water, writhing, screeching. Couldn't follow them. Chika turned to the boy. "We made it." But the boy's face was pale. He lifted a shaking hand, pointing to Chika's reflection in the water. Her shadow wasn't hers. Had red eyes. A whisper curled around them, sending chills through her spine. "The church never dies." The water rippled. A cold wind howled as the moonlight dimmed. Chika's breath caught in her throat. The boy clutched her arm, his fingers ice cold. She wanted to move, to run, but something held her in place. The river's surface shimmered. A dark shape slithered beneath the water, rising slowly. Chika gasped as skeletal hands reached up, grasping at her legs. "No!" she screamed, struggling to break free, but the water thickened like tar, pulling her downward. The boy tried to hold on to her. "Chika, fight it," he said. A deep, haunting laugh echoed from the darkness. The church's presence was still here, alive, waiting. The tendrils of shadow wrapped around her waist, dragging her further into the abyss. The last thing she saw before she was pulled under was the boy's terrified face, his hand slipping from hers. The next morning, the sun rose over the quiet village. The river flowed as if nothing had happened. But in the stillness of the morning mist, the church bells rang. Far away in a new town, a signboard was being raised. Divine Light Ministry. Grand opening this Sunday. The nightmare had only begun. The story of Divine Light Ministry is a good reminder that not everything that glows is holy. Chika thought she would be able to uncover the dark secrets of this ministry, but didn't know it is a mission that might lead to her end. The church never dies. It only moves, waiting for its next believers. But the real question is, if you saw a church like this in your town, would you enter? How would you know the church is real and not some dark cults? This is why you should be careful of the kind of churches that preaches only miracles and abandon the gospel of faith and salvation. Remember, some stories aren't just fiction. They are warnings. If you enjoyed this story, give it a like and share it with your loved ones to be careful of the kind of churches they attend. Your support means a lot to me. Support me by subscribing to my channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another interesting story.